Okay, now we're gonna talk temporaries. So my lovely patient here, open. I'm gonna put a little Vaseline on here because that distal margin is deep. It's hard to do this one-handed because I don't want my temporary to get stuck there. So a little on the prep, a little on the adjacents. Don't need a lot, but just some. Then, go ahead, sir. While my assistant is loading, I'm gonna air dry it. Or if you're doing it yourself, you can have a patient lay back and use their chest for the air. Okay, see that Vaseline move? That's okay. So because of this deep margin, I'm gonna show you my trick. You take the material and you put it in that deep margin, just need a little bit. Then you can seat your mold. Get it right, okay? Go ahead and bite into that. Good. Sorry, my video got crazy. But then I'll show you at the end how it captures that deep margin really well, because otherwise if it's too short, you're gonna have a mess of a tissue at delivery. Okay, so you pull your mold and you get your little temporary. Okay, first thing you wanna do is try it back on, okay? Because there is no point in adjusting it if something's off. So, first and foremost, at least I can see that it's gonna fit, but the interproximal just probably had an undercut, so I'm gonna smooth those first, just barely. Let me show you how I'm gonna do that. So, just keep it really zoomed in. Water off, unless you want a bath. So when I say adjust the interproximal, what's catching? Can you see that? That's the distal. You see this little lip there? That's what's catching, okay? So first what I'm gonna do is adjust that, okay? Because this is my margin. I don't wanna adjust that part. That's where it's hitting the tissue. So if you imagine those gums are sitting there, that's tissue that it's hitting. So that you can adjust. So I just smoothed that. I don't wanna adjust up here at all because then I'm not gonna have a contact. So you just wanna adjust that kind of rough part. Okay, once I've got that, I'm gonna go around to the margin. So here you can see the margin really well, okay? Let's see, color's kind of hard, but I can follow my margin right here. So I know all this is excess. So for that, the way I like to do it, I go from the outside. You don't go down like this because then you'll touch your margin. So you go from the outside here, the buckle if you will, and you just kind of smooth it. The other tip you can look at is you can go look from the side. So if this is the buckle of the tooth and you look from here, no natural tooth juts out right there. So you know that's not right. So you can smooth that down. A lot of times if you do that, you'll just get it thin enough where only the margin is left because that extra is usually pretty thin. So there you can see that looks a lot more natural. It's not jutting out there. I can probably do a little bit more, but I'll try it on first. I'm gonna go back to the mesial and just smooth a little bit. There's my margin again, you can see right there. And then I've got kind of this, hard corner. There's no hard corners in dentistry usually. So I'm gonna smooth that off, popped right off. Again, I'm not gonna touch that contact spot because if I just take my burr and I do all of it, I'm taking away my contact, and you know how much I love that. Great, okay, so now that should be much better. Videographer Ricky, if you could follow me over here. Excuse me, patient. We're gonna try that back on, okay? So, get that on there. A little tight, but it'll go down. We'd rather have it tight than loose. Oops, there we go. That margin is closed, so it wasn't down all the way, okay? And all I did to get it down all the way is just thin a little bit more near the interproximal. Again, not in the middle of the interproximal, because then I'll take away my contact. All right, so last thing, we've got our temporary cemented. I should tell you, the first thing I do after that temporary is seated and you push down firmly is I take a micro brush and I get that temporary cement out from around the gums, because that's going to irritate the heck out of someone's gums if you don't get that out. Okay, so you do that first. Second, you grab your floss. Everyone knows I love my little knot in my floss. Is we're gonna pull it down, and we need to hear this pop, okay? So I need this pop on a temporary. Pop, okay? Then I kind of wedge it down well under the gums, and I pull my knot out, okay? The same thing on the other side. Pull it down, pull it out, okay? Awesome. Next we'll check the bite. You all know that I'm obsessed with the bite on a temporary. Bite together. Tap, 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 squeeze and grind side to side, good. And then I'm gonna sit them up and have them do the same thing because the bite's gonna change when they're upright doing that. And we don't want any heavy marks on our temporary. I want like a pinpoint dot, okay? All right, same thing, tap up and down a couple, squeeze and grind, good. I'm gonna take that out. I have not looked at the bite at all, okay. So see how heavy that is? That's way too heavy. I don't care if it's heavy on all the teeth. I still don't want it heavy on my temporary because the patient's gonna say it hurts them. No matter what, even if that's how their bite was before. All right, so what we're gonna do, wherever those big dark marks are, you take the hand piece, move that down to temporary. So we don't have to tear that much. Aggressive on the temporary with the bite. Smoothing, okay? So we're gonna check that again. Bite together, tap, tap, squeeze inside. You can already hear it sounds a little bit better. Okay, so see, much better. I'm still gonna adjust this one spot right here, okay? That's still just a little bit heavy for me. And if you think about what that bite is gonna do over time, when they're chewing, they're only hitting here, it's gonna tip that tooth a little bit and cause some pressure. So I'm gonna adjust that. This bite, that's perfect. This is what I want the marks to look like on a temporary if there's any, these little dots, okay? Oops, sorry. One more little adjustment. And we should be good. Good, okay. Check that once more. Bite together. Tap, tap, squeeze and slide. Again, you can hear it sounds good. Good. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm OCD, so I'm gonna adjust this little line right here. And then patient's good. Patient's gonna be happy because we made him a really nice temporary. Their gums are gonna be happy when he comes back. His bite's not gonna get him aggravated. We're gonna be happy because his tissue is gonna look so nice at delivery. I'm not gonna have to deal with bloody gums. He's not going to be telling me that it's already hurting because it was a high bite the whole temporary. And we're going to be extra happy because we have those solid contacts. That tooth isn't going to move at all in there. So our delivery should be pretty darn good because we made a good temporary. All right, thanks. So with this photo, I want you to pause and look at it and think, where's my margin? So this isn't perfect, but gives you a rough idea of where the margin is and where you can adjust outside of that to smooth it. Speaking of adjusting, we want those margins really smooth. You're gonna have this excess temporary material that you're gonna need to smooth off. So look at this and try to figure out where the excess is to remove. The more used you get to making temporaries, the more easily you'll spot these. But you can see those little lips, any sharp corners like that are not gonna be anything that you want. Same here. Okay, so this is a picture of the distal contact area. So think about where you would adjust if this crown isn't seating. Okay, so you can see here you'd only want to smooth that little lip that kind of goes around. You don't want to take your burr and go all the way across that contact because I call that the no-touch zone. If you do that, you're going to remove your contact. So we only want to remove that lip that's interfering with our seat. So again, here's a good little visual. This is looking directly at the distal. That inside of that red circle, you don't want to ever touch a burr to. That's our contact. If you touch a burr to that, it will remove your contact. So only outside of that, wherever you see that lip, is where you would want to adjust, or anything outside that contact. Okay, so last but not least, this is kind of related, probably has more to do with the crown delivery appointment. But for those of our patients that have night guards, we always want them to bring it in for the night guard delivery, crown delivery. Because what we're going to do is adjust a little bit if it's too tight around that new crown. And what you're going to adjust is right in these corners there, and then on the occlusal surface only, but you don't want to thin it out too much.